Hello guys. So today we are working on our Pokemon poster, our last color and value lesson in the color and value unit. You are to photograph a Pokemon of your choice from my collection, and then afterwards you're going to create a Photoshop poster of the Pokemon. And you need to include a color scheme choice. A color scheme are things like from our previous lesson where you were making a poster for color primary colors, which are your red, yellow, blue. Your secondary colors, green, orange, and purple. The only color scheme we're not using is value scale because I don't want to see black and white in there. Most people, when they think of color scale, they're only going towards the value scale. They're only going towards the black and white. So we're going to focus on primary colors, secondary colors, complementary colors, analogous colors. The analogous colors must have a minimum of 3 colors next to each other on the color wheel. So if you're going to use analogous, you're going to use green, yellow, orange, or yellow, orange, red, or red, orange, and so on. So it has to have a minimum of 3 colors. And you're going to use those colors to help boost your Pokemon. You need to pick a color scheme that helps your Pokemon stand out. You also need to add at least 3 different camera angles of your Pokemon. For instance, I took a couple of different shots of Pikachu so that I can see which one's going to work best for my image. You need to name your file, your Photoshop file, with your name underscore Pokemon underscore period. The period can be shorthand to P2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The size is again 13 by 19 or 19 by 13 inches. It's up to you which orientation you want to use. And the resolution will be 150 dpi. The background can be white or transparent. It won't matter. You're going to change it anyways. You'll also need to include all the Pokemon specs such as height, power, strength. You can also include in the background things that relate to where the Pokemon came from. Maybe it's from the water, the ocean, so this species live in the ocean, so you want to incorporate water kind of themes, and so on, okay? So to get started, we're going to open up Photoshop, and we're going to create a new file. Once you click the new file, you're going to go ahead and change the name up here, the title. So again, it's going to be your name, underscore Pokemon, underscore your period. So it should be P2, P3, P4, P5, P6. You need to check here. It should say inches. If it doesn't, click on the drop down arrow and change it to inches. You get to decide if you want it to be portrait mode or orientation. Let's say you entered in portrait mode first, 13 by 19. And then you're like, well, I don't want to do that. I need to switch it. You can just easily switch to the landscape mode by clicking the landscape. And resolution is going to be 150 dpi. So we're going to leave that at 150, 150. Pixels, inches, and then press enter. You're going to get this setup, this layout right here. Once you have this layout, you can then bring in your Pokemon pictures. So I'm going to go ahead and grab them and drop them in. If you press enter, actually, it was stuck on the transform tool. If you press enter, it'll allow your Pokemon pictures to come in. First thing I noticed is that my layers palette, all the pictures have a smart object on them. So I can't really edit and remove the background if I don't remove the smart object. So right click your layer and you're just going to rasterdize this. We've done this over and over and over again. So just rasterize each layer so that you can easily cut and edit out the background of your Pokemon. Right click, rasterize. Okay, I'm going to pop this back into my, actually I want to put it in between there. Okay. So first thing we do is I don't need all of these to be open or visible at the same time. I'm just going to cut out the background. How do we cut out the background? We have our usual tools. Our lasso, we can use our lasso tool to trace around. And remember, I love the polygonal lasso tool to trace around the edges of our Pokemon. And right now I don't have my feather on, which is fine because I prefer to have clean edges for this poster design. Okay, so Window D or Select Deselect to deselect the area that you deleted earlier. And what I want to do is I want to make sure my feather is off, because if you have your feather on, you're going to have a soft edge like this, and it will make, you can also simply click inside to deselect. See, it makes it blurry. We want a clean edge for our Pokemon. Another way to erase the background is to use you can use your magic eraser, and you can click on something, but it's gonna leave kind of like a mess, so I still have to go in and clean it up anyways. So I just feel like it's just making more work for me because it's one extra step since it's not a solid color. You can use the regular eraser tool, increase your size at 100% hardness, and a larger brush to help you remove stuff. And then when you get closer to the Pokemon, you can change the size of your eraser to get into those crevices. So in this instance, I still prefer my polygonal lasso tool. And then zoom in closer so I can see my detail. Then I can go in and fix some of these things later on too. I might just leave it alone because I haven't gone over, actually no, I went over the healing tool with you guys already. So you can easily take your healing spot brush and, you know, get rid of any like blemishes that's on your Pokemon, because you have that ability to clean it up a little more. Just make sure don't touch any dark color edges to the Pokemon. And I'm just going to clean them up. Then I'll finish cutting out the edge. Make the brush a little smaller. If you right click your mouse, your option for your brushes will show up again. Oops. There. It's all nice and clean again. Take your time and cut out your edges really nice and clean. You can see that the top part of Pikachu is nice and cleaned up with my lasso tool. So I'm going inside the edges a little bit just so I can get it smooth. And as long as you keep your lasso tool selection tight, you won't get any sharp edges. You'll get a illusion of a curved edge. See how close I'm going to the edge, and I never go too far off because I want to keep it nice and clean. See how clean he looks now? So that is what I'm looking for when I grade your posters. Also clean edges, things, how you use your tools. Because if you're rushing to just turn something in, you're going to end up having to redo the whole thing because it's just not going to look great. So make sure you are taking your time to look at the details in your work. I may have to go and clean that edge a little bit more with the eraser just because when I make my background, it's probably going to leave a weird shadow there and I could see it already. So just make sure there's no weird outline. Just going in to get the darker parts, some of the darker parts that I know it's going to create an outline when I have a background. So then use whichever pixel removing tools that you feel comfortable using to remove the edge. All right, first Pikachu is done. I'm going to do one more for now and add two as I go. Remember, you can hold your shift button and add selections to your selection tool. So right now I'm just closing in the gap on Pikachu by holding the shift button, and I'm going to zoom in now to add all of the details. So holding down the shift button will give me the plus sign, and then I can go in and add. Then once it adds the first anchor, I can let go of the mouse or the shift button and continue adding the space as I outline Pikachu. Just try not to double click because that's how you end up not finishing up your selections. Shift button again, gonna add in the part that I want to outline and remove. Keeping the anchors of my lasso tool close together to create curvy areas. Shift button again to add more of the space I want to remove. Keeping my anchors tight near the curvy areas to give an illusion of curviness so there's no harsh angles being added. Go ahead and clean that selection up. Okay, almost done. I'm going to hold the shift button again to add the selection. Taking great care not to double click the mouse, which will close my selection. Then I have to keep adding smaller spaces instead of being able to work like I am now. Ta-da! Okay, let's zoom out so we can see. So that's my selection, backspace. I need to be on the right layer, backspace, and done. Deselect, window D, select, deselect, or click on the inside of your selected area. So now I have two Pikachus cut out. I just need a third one cut out to meet the minimum requirement. I wanted to show you guys the layout of the design first. So in order to begin the background, I have to make some choices. So I'm going to go down to my background layer, and I can simply add a new layer on top of that to start. So I'm going to add a new layer on top of that because what I want to do is I can try out layering down a gradient. Your gradient tool is right here on the left side under the eraser tool. If you click on it, it's going to have a default color of black and white, and it will looks like it's going from dark to light. Mine I changed yesterday, so I have two different colors in here. The color scheme I'm going to choose for Pikachu is going to be complementary today. So I'm going to go ahead and double click that low bottom black, white, gray box that you have on your screen, and maybe I'll add a blue. And then I can add an orange on the opposite side by double clicking on it, and then add an orange to it. And see how that looks. I don't know if I really like the color in the middle there, so I may change this to something else. So if I open the basic window, I can see that there's a transparent one. Before I go in there and change it, I'm going to show you what this one looks like. So all you have to do is drag your mouse across, and then you'll get the gradient to show up like that. You can change the angle by dragging different direction, like that. So the orange and blue together kind of looks red, so it's not quite giving me the complementary colors I want. So what I can do is I'm going to undo this, and I'm going to go back in the inside. So if you look again, I just went on top of that gradient color right there, which yours is going to be by default black and white. Click on it, it's going to open this. Go into basic. Actually, there's a blue one. So I can go into blues and see what kind of blues they have. But I think I'm going to stick to basic. I'm going to go to the transparent gradient in the middle. And what I can do with that is I can decide like, okay, I want the red to go to here. Then I'm going to add a second layer, because what's this going to do for me is that it's going to not blend the color so much that it looks like a different color in the middle. I actually need it orange, so let me switch that. Double click on that bottom bucket right there. You can go in here and change the orange to orange. I'm just going to go over that. Okay. I'll do a little more just to cover up the red a little bit more. All right. And I just realized, you know what? I'm going to turn off that gradient. The background is white right now. Maybe I prefer it to have like a black background where the gradient's going to be on top of it. So I can go into my paint bucket tool where it lives underneath the gradient tool and just click. As long as I have it highlighted the background, I can click on there and change it. And then I'm going to go back to my gradient because I still need to add the blue. So here's the orange on top of the black. I like how that's looking right there. So I'm going to go back to the gradient and choose a different color, which is going to be the blue because it's a complementary color. I'll choose a blue, and I'm going to add another layer. Say okay to that color, add another layer. This is going to be my blue layer, okay? And I'm going to drag it from this angle over. And if I need more, I can just drag it over. And you can switch it up and down to see how it looks. And now I have this kind of like transparent layer that's just laying on top of the black background. I can even at this point take my orange and move it around and get a little more, remove a little more of it. There is an edge right here that I would have to soft erase to blend it in. So soft erase is to 0% large paint, large brush size, and then just go to that edge. See, and it blends it back in. Just gonna fix that a little more. So I want to really just softly do it. There. Another thing you could do is we have shape tools. We have rectangles, circles, triangles, poly. You can use any one of these shapes to create a pattern on top of your background. So this is in between the layers right now. So I'm gonna move it down under, actually sorry, above the gradient. And the color right now is just black, and I want to change that perhaps. So I can go to the polygon, to the shape tool, and I can go into the fill and pick a different color. So maybe it will be blue because it's sitting on top of the orange, you know, so then I have a contrast to complement it. And maybe it's too solid, so I can go in and reduce the opacity for it. And what I'm doing is I'm creating like a background shape. I can take that and I can copy that, duplicate that layer, right? And I can keep like moving it over, and maybe I'm making a pattern out of it like this. And then maybe it'll start to change into orange as it goes up here. So that's an option. I'm just deleting them because I'm not using them. Another option is custom shapes. If you go into the custom shape tool, you'll get this little window right here that says shape. And the first thing that I see is an ostrich. So if I drag out this, I'm going to get an ostrich, and I can fill it with whatever color. And I can have like that type of shape. And then I can keep repeating that as a pattern. So those are just options. Another custom shape in here, if you open the drop down menu, you'll have like different animals, you have like trees, you have boats. So maybe some of these might be helpful to certain environments. You have flowers, so if I drag out a flower, then I have a flower pattern, and I can make that transparent or lower the opacity, and the flower can become a pattern. So if I take two flowers instead of doing a pattern like this, I can go into edit and transform it and flip it horizontally so it mirrors each other. And I can create like a pattern out of that. I can lock these two layers together here in the layers palette. So if I highlight both flower layer right here, I can link them by joining the link right here. And then they will move together and I can like create a pattern out of it. So lots of different options. It just depends on what you want to do. Another option is like, maybe you're like, I don't like any of these shapes. I'm just deleting all the patterns I made so I can show you guys more. Maybe I don't like any of these shapes and I want something more Pikachu-esque. So maybe I just want to create a pattern out of Pikachu. So what you could do is you can highlight the layer for Pikachu and you can take your magic wand and just select around Pikachu, okay? What we're gonna do is we're gonna go select and then inverse that. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna not have Pikachu on. We're gonna add a new layer right there, see? So I add a new layer. And then I'm gonna, on the new layer, I'm gonna keep that selection on and take my paint bucket tool and paint that in. And now I have a pattern of Pikachu. So then I can make the pattern of Pikachu any color I want by changing the foreground color for it. See? And then I can like deselect this and I can keep repeating, duplicating the layer with Pikachu on it and make a pattern, background pattern out of that, right? So those are some options that you can use to start making your design. And I can play around to see like what's gonna look better. So I can keep making patterns of Pikachu, and maybe it's gonna be like kind of like an up and down motion like this to the edges because it is a pattern. Give it the same amount of spacing. So play around with that. Those are the patterns, and I actually want the pattern to be under my main images. So I'm going to highlight those, and I'm not done with the pattern yet. I'm just need to show you guys something else. So I'm just thinking, I'm just playing around with what I have to see how it's going to look, because I don't know how it's going to look, and I want to experiment to get the best look, right? And if you're just careful, you can use all the guides to help you finish your pattern up. Okay, so then I can focus on my picture. Maybe you can use different sizes to make your Pikachu more prominent. So maybe this is the one that I want to be really large on my poster. And then these other ones will be smaller. And I can rotate their axis. I don't have to keep it the same. Or maybe this one's gonna come up here and jump down, right? So have fun with it. Then maybe I could put the specs right here and I can use another shape to create a area where information is going to be. And this is going to be transparent, okay? Or maybe I want to use the blend mode to see which one's better. I don't like any of those. I'm going to keep it normal and just reduce the opacity. Then I can like add my text in there. and change the size up here. The properties will open and you can change the size, you can change the style, like how you want to write it. I realized I haven't saved in a while, so we need to make sure that we're saving. So save, not save as, just save. And for now, just so that we don't crash our computer, go ahead and save to the cloud. And then we'll download it from the cloud when we're ready to submit it. Okay, so my text area is like off to the edge here. I don't much like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to make sure that my text layer is on a separate layer. See? And then from there, I can drag the text onto my text box area that I want it to go. Then I can leave a nice space around it. And I can add another text box to give Pikachu its name. But that needs to be like the largest area of it. So I can go and highlight that, like Pikachu, highlight it, and I can make the text really large. You can go here in the properties down there, or you can go up here to the properties up here. That's still not large enough, so I'm thinking like maybe it's 200 points. Yeah. So maybe I can make my box here a little align it to that edge. I'm going to move Pikachu's title over. You can use the arrow key on your keyboard. It also helps really control like where things go if you're having a hard time with the mouse, because sometimes I can't move stuff with the mouse very well, so I have to like use the arrow key. I find that that's just much more friendly. Gotta find a color for this, so maybe I'm gonna use like an orange or something. Double click. Let's see how that looks. It's okay, but it doesn't stand out. I do like the color. What we could do with the text layer is down here where it says FX, if I click on the text layer and then I go to FX, I can open my blending option. Once you have your blending option open, you can do things like add a stroke. Right now the stroke is only, double click on it, it's only at A1, so it's not very big. So you can slide this over and see how that looks. And the stroke right now is on the inside of the text, so it's making my text look skinnier. I don't want that, so I'm going to switch it to outside and then add it outside. I really like that outline. So I'm going to say okay to it, and maybe I want to outline the main Pikachu too. So I'll highlight that layer and go into the stroke, and I can add that outline. And now I'm starting to really like my poster. It's starting to look like it's getting somewhere. So it's all about experimentation, you guys. I'm going to keep working on this. I'll have a final piece for you to see as an example. Oh, maybe I'll have this Pikachu go over and kind of like grab the text box right here. And I'll outline him too, because it feels like it makes it feel like a complete, poster. So this is where I'm going to stop the video right now. I just want to give you guys an idea. And then once I finish this up, you'll see this on Canvas. So think about your plan. What do you want to do? What do you want it to look like? Use different sizes, use different colors, and you have to have a color scheme, okay? If you need help or anything like that, just let me know. I'll be walking around. I see that I'm a little off on the Pokemon pattern that I made, or Pikachu pattern I made. So I'm going to select all the layers. So I'm just holding down the shift button and then adding each of these layers because I want to move it around. I want to kind of make it more even, I guess. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to copy the Pikachu here and kind of add him to match there. That way it looks like, it's, I don't know. I might keep it, I may not. I'm going to select them all again and see just how they look. You can see as I hold the shift button, I get all those layers. I can link them all too. That way now they just move together. And I have this like weird line here. Let me zoom in so you can see. There's this weird line right here, and I think it's from my one of my gradients. So let me just double check. Oh, so it's from the orange layer. Okay, so see that? Because I shifted it over because it was too much. So I'm going to go in with the soft eraser and just clean that edge up. See, the faintest things can show up. I'm just going to do that and turn everything back on and check it. No more lying. So maybe I will make the pattern a little smaller so that I can get a nicer fit for my Pikachu. There. I am much more happier with that. At this point, if I have them all selected, I can also make another copy of them. So you can like copy and paste them and repeat if you wanted to. But I think I like just having them up there at the top to balance everything out. Now all I need to do is cut out my third Pikachu as a minimum shape. So I just have to find one that I want to use. Oh, maybe that one. I haven't used that one yet. So I can use that one. Make sure you're on the right layer because I am not on the right layer. There we go. So design is all about playing and experimenting with your tools, your images to create a design. And you make more money as a graphic designer, photographer, if you can work faster to produce your client with a product. And as always, it's, you know, when you're working for a client, you only have a little say in the aesthetic part. You can give your opinion. Some clients will just say, no, I need you to make this. I want it like this, and that's what you have to do. Unless, and the only time that you get to do truly create what you truly want is when you're creating your own designs. So even in class, it's the same thing. You have to follow a certain set, and you have to be familiar with that, or else you can't work with people. So I'm just going to pause the video and finish this up, and then I'll show you guys where I place it. Okay, so I've finished cutting out my third Pikachu. I'm going to zoom back out and find a place for this little guy. But before I do that, let's make him match the other one by adding the stroke. And I'm going to say okay to that because I've just got the same stroke. So I may just like flip this Pikachu around. You can flip him around by going up to Edit, go down to Transform, flip horizontal, and he's going to face the other ways because maybe I want him to sit on one of these or sit on here. Again, I'm going to move this above my text box I created. I'm not sure quite where to put him yet. So maybe I'll actually turn him and he'll be in between there. Yeah, I like that. All right, so the next step is to put in the specs for Pikachu and then seeing what else I need to do. I somehow messed up the ear on this Pikachu, so I gotta fix that. I gotta unlink them and fix that one by replacing it. So I'm just gonna delete that one and copy a new one. Oops. I gotta unlink everything. There we go. Okay, save my progress. And I just need to include some information and then see what else. I have this negative space here I'm not too keen on yet, so I've got to figure out what I'm going to do to it. So while I think about that, you're going to work on yours.